pleasure and honor to be here today, and I'm hoping that I can kind of direct myself to the whole room and that this lovely food over here won't be too much of a distraction. Of course, please continue to eat and drink as we're talking. So it's such a pleasure. I want to say good evening and habari Johnny. Okay, how did I do?
Very well.
Very well? Okay, thank you. And it's just such a pleasure to be here to talk about some of my favorite topics, which are global reproductive health, leadership, and mentorship. And I'm going to engage you for a minute instead of just talking myself. And so if you will indulge me, I'd like for you just for a minute to close your eyes and silently think of a leader. So close your eyes or look down at the ground and think of a very important leader. So I want you to really pull that leader up into your mind and silently reflect on who this leader is who first came to your mind. I want you to think about, is this someone who you know personally, or is it a leader from the media who you don't know yourself? What is their gender? Just silently reflect on this. What is their nationality? Their race or ethnicity? And their age? And now I invite you to think about some of the leadership qualities in this person. So when you are thinking about this important leader, what causes them to stand out and rise above all the others in their field? And if you could, just call out some of the qualities that come to mind about this leader who you're thinking of. Go ahead and just call them out.
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
Inspirational.
Inspirational.
Focused.
Sorry?
Focused.
Focus.
Knowledge.
Sorry?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. What else?
Selfless.
Sorry?
Selfless.
Say it again.
Visionarist.
Selfless.
Selfless. Yes, I should have said at the beginning that I am a little hard of hearing, and so if you could repeat it louder, that's great. Selfless. What else? Sorry? Eloquent. Yes, an excellent speaker. One more?
Tenacious.
Tenacious. I love it. Tenacious. So these are some of the important qualities of leader that came to your mind. Now I'd like you to close your eyes again and think of your mentors, your personal mentors. Who were these wise people who really supported and guided you in your life, in your career? And conjure them fully in your mind. Who are the people who are really responsible for you being here in this room among other global reproductive health researchers and champions? So think of those important mentors in your life. Now I invite you to open your eyes, and I'm interested to conduct a little comparison. So when you think about your actual mentors compared to the leader that you conjured up, what were some of their similarities or differences? How did they compare? These mentors that you know personally, and then this leader that you were thinking of. How do they compare? Were they similar or very different? Anyone want to call out a similarity or a difference?
Also modeled perseverance.
Okay. So both of them?
Difference was my mentor is approachable.
Oh, yes, so your mentor was approachable, someone who you could meet with and relate to. Mm-hmm.
My mentor is older.
Is older.
Much older.
Okay. Then yourself or then the leader?
Than the leader.
Then the leader. Interesting. Okay. And what else? Someone
My
else?
mentor was overambitious because he reinforced me to fit into his shoes, which was too much for me to get in.
Okay. Okay. So these are interesting questions about how is it that we've come to perceive leadership and who a leader is, and then how does that compare to the people in our lives who actually have been our mentors. And if there are differences, why is it that we have a different definition for a leader than for a mentor? So it's just something that I wanted us to kind of think about and experiment with, and I'd love to hear from everyone, but I don't think we have time for that tonight. So tonight I'll explore 3 key themes related to leadership and mentorship, and against the backdrop of global reproductive health. And I wanted to, along the way, honor some of my mentors who have been instrumental in my life and career path as well. And the 3 themes I wanted to talk about are, number 1, diversity matters, and number 2, humility, or what I call leading from behind, and number 3, sustainability, or how will our work live on beyond us. So first of all, diversity in leadership matters. Representation matters. Equity and inclusion matter. It's completely natural that as human beings, we long to see ourselves in our leaders. We are looking to leaders as role models, as examples. And so it's incredibly important that we are looking for leaders who look like or are similar to us. And I've had my own difficult search for mentors throughout my lifetime, looking for professional role models and leaders in particular. So growing up, my main role models and examples of professional leaders were men. In my family, most of the men were corporate executives, worked in business, and the majority of the women in that, which was true for that era of middle-class American women at the time, after they were married, they no longer worked outside the home, but rather tended to the home and family, and again, did not work for pay outside the home. And while these women are incredibly strong, and my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, all were very instrumental in my life and taught me some incredibly important lessons, that I could do anything I set my mind to. That's what my grandmother always told us, girls and boys. You can do anything if you set your mind to it. To be strong, emotionally and financially independent women. And I'll say that this came from my mother, who was not financially and emotionally independent at the time, but really raised her daughters to be that, and that she wanted a different future for girls and women. And also from my mother, to live without regret. If you want to do it, do it. Life is short. Live without regret. And not to be ashamed of my body and my sexuality, which is an incredibly important lesson. She herself did not have any sexuality education when she was growing up. And so she wanted to ensure that her girls and her boy knew about our bodies and our sexuality, and that we were proud of them and we weren't ashamed to talk about them and ask questions. And these are just a few of the important lessons. But when it came to my professional life, again, I didn't have professional female role models in my family, and so I was really searching for that. And again, the men were all in the corporate sphere, which, while important, wasn't my path. And so I was really clear about what I was passionate about, but I wasn't sure what to call it, what it was called, and what that career path would look like. And my grandfather, really tried to support me. He read my master's paper from cover to cover, but he didn't really understand that area, and so he would ask me a lot of questions and challenge me on things, but didn't have guidance to offer in terms of a career path. So it was actually while I was here at Duke as an undergraduate, and I took a lot of psychology courses, and so I just assumed I would get my PhD, and I would become a clinical psychologist because I love psychology. And my favorite psychology professor, Dr. David Goldstein, when I was asking him for career advice, he asked me that very simple but important question, what do you love to do? And I said, well, I love to do what I'm doing here at Duke, which is that I was president of a peer sexual education group, and we were doing a lot of sexuality and sexual reproductive health and rights education, awareness raising, campaigns on campus. We were politically involved, and I love doing that. And he said, well, that's called public health. I had never heard the term public health. And he said, and there happens to be a really amazing public health school up the road at UNC Chapel Hill. At the time, Duke did not have a public health program, I will say. And so not only did he give me a name for what I love to do, but he also showed me how to pursue that career path. And I since went on to earn my Master in Public Health and have been an adjunct faculty in the Health Behavior Department ever since.